The Witcher 3 is just stuffed with all kinds of Easter eggs and secrets that CD Projekt Red have hidden across this massive expansive game. While many of these secrets and Easter eggs are absolutely banging, we've decided to gather together 9 of the best ones that you might have missed. If you're a big Witcher fan, then you might be pretty well acquainted with IORVETH, who was the charismatic yet kind of antagonising elf from The Witcher 2 Assassins of Kings. With that said, you probably also noticed that he didn't really make an appearance in The Witcher 3 despite being a fan favourite. Well, it turns out that IORVETH was originally meant to make an appearance in The Witcher 3, but CD Projekt Red's Philip Weber revealed on the official forums that as development went on, the studio had to make the tough decision of cutting his questline out for multiple reasons. Sadly, it looks as though we won't ever quite find out just what IORVETH would have been up to in The Witcher 3, but at least we have all those fanfictions readily available online to keep us going. Localization is a pretty big deal for games that as fans we don't really think much into, but nevertheless it's a pretty big job. With that said, NoClip's 2017 documentary series on The Witcher 3 revealed that it was particularly difficult for CD Projekt Red to localize the game for an Egyptian audience, especially with some of the strict rules that they have for what can and can't be depicted in visual media. Unsurprisingly, the team ran straight into issues with the very first scene in the game, which featured a very naked Yennefer along with a naked Geralt stepping out of that now iconic bathtub. The team over at CD Projekt Red was able to work around this though, as the Egyptian guidelines simply dictated that Yennefer must be wearing underwear for this scene, so those wonderful devs just went back into the game, created some lovely little underwear for her, and then powered on through. Of course, the first scene was just the first of many that CD Projekt Red had to address in order to bring The Witcher 3 to Egypt, but this monumental task was one that the devs were able to complete, and to this day, Egypt is still having a grand old time playing The Witcher 3.
I hope you brought something better than magic crystals this time.
Another detail in the very same episode of the NoClip documentary series on The Witcher 3 was an interesting tidbit on the Assassination of King Radovid questline, which Geralt can undertake, culminating in the Mad King being killed. The localization woes weren't the only thing that the NoClip documentary series revealed about the development of The Witcher 3. Turns out that CD Projekt Red came across another pretty big issue that they simply weren't able to resolve. It seems as though the Assassination of King Radovid questline, which, spoiler alert, culminates in the Mad King being killed, was completely left untranslated for a few select regions around the world. It turns out the devs accidentally just completely overlooked this one during the development of The Witcher 3, but thankfully they were able to patch it almost immediately for fans. In fact, they were able to patch it so fast that it's actually pretty unlikely that anyone was able to get to the quest quick enough to even notice that it wasn't translated.
You wouldn't believe me if I told you.
Try me.
It seems as though during The Witcher 3, CIRI dropped a tiny little teaser about CYBERPUNK 2077 that you might have missed. When Geralt eventually manages to catch up to CIRI after trekking it halfway around the world for her, she quickly brings him up to speed with everything that she's been doing over the past few years. As you're probably aware, CIRI has the ability to leap through space and time itself, sort of like the TARDIS in Doctor Who, but rather than needing a big old blue box to do it, she just is naturally gifted with the ability, so good on her for one-upping the Doctor. Anyway, over the years, she's been avoiding her pursuers by tapping into this ability of hers and traversing through various dimensions, including one which features everyone having their own flying vehicle.
And there were no horses. Everyone had their own flying ship instead.
Knowing what we know about CD Projekt Red's upcoming CYBERPUNK 2077, it seems as though this line might have been a nice, small, cheeky little tease for it way back when. All that's left is to wait and see whether CIRI makes a little cameo in the game when it releases. Who knows, she might just be chilling with Keanu Reeves somewhere, or at least one can hope anyway.
Toussaint, the land of love and wine.
Exactly how I remembered it.
Like many games, The Witcher 3 has multiple different endings that you can achieve, and if you're a bit unlucky, then you might have somehow gotten the worst possible ending, which, and yet again this is another spoiler alert, consists of CIRI dying in her fight to erase the White Frost and Geralt seemingly succumbing to a horde of monsters and beasts in the swamps of Velen. Thankfully though, with the release of the massive Blood and Wine expansion in 2016, it looks as though you can negate the events of the worst ending. The expansion takes place after the events of the main game, as Ciri, Triss or Yennefer can visit Geralt in his home at the conclusion of the expansion. It's safe to assume then that this means Geralt managed to avoid a horrible demise in the bad ending and secured himself a lovely little future in Corvo Bianco. In the PC version of The Witcher 3, with the help of a cheeky little mod, you can put the camera of the game into free roam mode, which will let you teleport Geralt to the top of one of the highest mountains in the Blood and Wine region. Once you get to that point, you'll quickly discover a little painted canvas that's just hidden away at the top of the mountain. Upon closer inspection, you'll see that this isn't just any old painted canvas, but a nice picture of every CD Projekt Red employee that worked on both The Witcher 3 and the Blood and Wine expansion. It's just a lovely little Easter egg and tribute to the development team that you probably might have not known about if you're not a mod whiz kid. Another fun little Easter egg that's been discovered in The Witcher 3 is a big old spooky ghost ship, which appears just off the coast of Skellige most nights between the hours of 1 AM and 3 AM. While most players have spotted this mysterious ghost ship, not a single one of them has been able to board this Flying Dutchman-esque boat, as every time you get close to it, it just completely disappears.
Do you know why he did it? Because he's a degenerate monster in human flesh who feeds on the pain and suffering of others.
Despite the base game of The Witcher 3 taking upwards of 100 hours to complete, CD Projekt Red still gifted fans with multiple different expansions to keep the Witcher fun going for as long as possible. One of these expansions is called Hearts of Stone, and you might find that the big villain for it, Gunter O'Dim, has a bit of a familiar face. Well, if you've got perfect memory, then you'll quickly remember that Geralt had already met this villainous scum at the very beginning of The Witcher 3 during the Lilac and Gooseberry's quest. During the bit where Geralt is searching for Yennefer and has to ask around the tavern in Wych Orchard, you'll come across an NPC who is none other than Gunter O'Dim himself, and little did we know that he would go on to become the big bad in the first major expansion for The Witcher 3. Just goes to show that you can't ever trust anybody you meet in a CD Projekt Red game, not even a random NPC, because who knows if they'll be coming back to make your life a living hell. God damn it, Gunter. There's no better way to end this vid than on a Game of Thrones Easter egg. You remember that show, right? A worldwide phenomenon until the final season, in which everyone unanimously decided to pretend that it never happened. Anyway, before all that, it turns out the devs working on The Witcher 3 were also fans of the show. If we head on down memory lane, back to the first season of it, then you might remember that Tyrion Lannister, for a brief moment, was imprisoned in the Sky Cell of the Ear, a prison cell with a missing wall that leads to a huge drop. Well, the devs certainly remember that moment particularly well, because it seems you can find a cell that looks pretty similar to the Sky Cell in Game of Thrones in one of the islands dotted around the Skellige map. Not only can you find the cell, but within it there's a corpse that looks eerily similar to Tyrion Lannister. It seems as though, contrary to the show and books, in the world of The Witcher, this Lannister just wasn't able to repay his debts.
Sky cells. Nice idea for a prison without bars. Shame he didn't know how to fly.
And that's 9 secrets and Easter eggs from The Witcher 3 that you might have missed or just simply didn't know about. But now you do, so you may as well boot the game up again and sink another 100 hours into it. Go on, you know you want to.